Hey everyone, this is Stephanie with Beach Potato Embroidery. I am on part 3 of this series of our beach bag. This is our beach potato panel pocket. So we're going to be making the side pocket and we're going to need to make 2 of these. So let's get started. So we stitched our placement stitch onto our stabilizer. I have our anti-soft and stable foam ready to lay in place. We're going to tape this down, take it back to the machine and tack it down. I trimmed my anti-soft and stable to the stitch line. I now have my cloud fabric that I'm going to lay down, tape in place, and bring back to the machine to tack down. The blue sky fabric's now been tacked down. I also stitched the placement stitch for our next fabric, which is going to be this white fabric. We're going to face it pretty side down, and we're going to have the shorter side. This is a 10 by 12 piece. And we're going to line it up here and we're going to tape this in place. It's going to be attaching here so we can fold this back over as the lining of this pocket, since this will be exposed when we actually put our bag together. Keep in mind we are keeping the white cloud fabric past the stitch line. We're not trimming any of this out. This is going to be sewn at a later step, so we're going to leave this as is and fold this back down and just have this laying on top right in place. Our white fabric is now attached to our pocket panel. This is actually the lining of this pocket panel. This will be shown on the beach bag when we actually create that pocket during the sewing process. But for now, it's just going to be flipped over to the side because we still have applique to do on this part. And this is kind of in our way. So what we're going to do is we're just going to fold this over. It doesn't really matter how, but we want it out of our stitch field here. So we're going to tape this in place and just leave it off to the side. This will actually be sewn down at a later part. I stitched our placement stitch for our cloud. This is going to be an applique. I'm using our white PU leather. We're going to tack this down in our next step. So I trimmed our PU leather to the stitch line. I then went on and stitched our beach potato words onto our cloud. I'm going to return this to the machine and I'm going to get the satin stitch all the way around the potato, and then we'll be doing the last step. Our beach potato pocket panel is all done. We stitched out our PU leather, we did our font, we have our lining that's kind of just floating here. We'll be sewing this down at a later step, but right now we're going to be just folding it flat and finger pressing it in place. We're going to stitch with the machine a little tack down stitch just to kind of frame this out, but we're going to be leaving this excess for later. Don't trim it yet. Your hoop should look like this, where this is all flat and ready to go. This is taped out of the way of the stitching field, and we're ready to return this to the machine. Now that our pocket panel is completely stitched out, we can take this out of the hoop, and we're going to hang on to this excess fabric because it is going to be sewn in a later step. I'm going to leave the white fabric alone, but we are going to trim 1/2 inch away from the stitch line here with our ruler around the blue fabric. So the beach potato pocket panel is going to look like this. We're going to have it trimmed out. I left the white fabric alone. I just trimmed out the blue. And now we have an excess amount of white there on the top. We're going to flip this to the underneath. And we're going to pull in place, press down. And now we have more fabric than what we need, which is perfect because we're going to stitch along this placement stitch here and just tack this down to the back. So what this is going to do is make a pretty side on both sides. It kind of hides our stitches because this is going to be part of our side pocket on our beach bag. And this is what it will look like when you take this to your sewing machine. You're going to be stitching on the white line right here, directly on it, all the way to the edges. And then at the very end, you'll be able to trim this 1/2 inch away, and then this will be able to be set aside. Moving on to our next panel, this is going to be our airplane panel for our beach bag. I stitched this on tearaway stabilizer, and so we have our placement lines already stitched out, and this is our placement for our zipper. So we're going to take our zipper, it's going to be bigger than what the actual hoop is, and we're going to tape it in place. You just need a 12-inch or larger zipper. I have the zipper pull off to the left side of the hoop, and then I have the tail end over here. We're going to tape this in place and bring it to the machine to tack it down. Our zipper is now tacked down to our stabilizer. We're going to take our hoop and flip it to the back side, and we're going to add our lining in place now. So this is the back side of our hoop. We have our zipper here. Our lining is going to go just about 1/4 of an inch past the bottom of the zipper, and then we're going to tape this in place. This is now taped in place. This fold here doesn't matter where you fold it, it's just folded towards the top of the hoop out of our stitch field. Our stitch field is going to be stitching right through here, and so this is where we want this to be taped in place because it's going to go right across the line there. But before we take this back to the machine, we need to flip it over to the front. We check that everything's secure here on the front, and we're going to be adding our water fabric on top. So this is the water fabric. We're going to take this and we're going to lay it pretty side down. It's 1/4 inch past our zipper, and it's in line with the back lining on the back side of the hoop. So this is about even there. It's taped in place. The machine is going to attach this to the zipper, and so we're going to bring this back to our machine and get this tacked down. For our next step, we leave everything taped in place. We don't change anything. We're not moving any of our fabrics, but we do have our Annie Soft and Stable. We're going to lay this just underneath that stitch line, and we're going to get this tacked down, and then we're going to trim it away in this next step. But all we need to do is just tape this in place, not move our fabrics, and bring this back to the machine. For our next step, we're going to pull down our water fabric and tape it in place. Our Annie Soft and Stable, or your batting, is going to be trimmed to the stitch line, which we've already done. And we're going to tape this in place and take it back to the machine. Now that our water fabric is tacked down to our Soft and Stable, we're going to add our sand, and we're going to place this right on top. It's going to be about 1/4 inch past this stitch line, and we're just going to tape this in place and bring it back to the machine to be attached. So this is the front side of our hoop. We're going to flip to the back. We're going to undo our taping, and we're going to bring our lining down. So lining comes down. We're going to need to tape this in place and then add our next bit of lining on top. So this piece of lining is now pulled down. We taped it in place at the bottom of the hoop. We have our second piece of lining that we're going to line on top of this lining. The only difference is this is going to overlap and extend past this part of the zipper on the top part. And we'll tape this in place and flip our hoop over to the front side. So this is the back side of the hoop. There's 2 pieces of lining here. They're completely taped in place, so this should not move when we flip it over. Turn it to the front side of the hoop here. And now we're going to take off our tape from our sand fabric, and we're going to bring this down and tape this in place. And what we're going to do is when we bring this back to the machine is going to tack down the lining pocket with the zipper, and it's going to tack down our sand before we start working on the top part of our hooping. So for our next step, we are taking our sky fabric and attaching it to the top part of the zipper. I have it just past the zipper there at the front. It's taped in place. The machine's going to go from here to here and attach this to the zipper. For our next step, we're taking our foam or your batting and we're laying it in place on top. It's going to be just underneath this stitch line right here. It's not going to go past it. We're going to tape this in place and bring it back to the machine. Now that the foam is in place, I trimmed it to the stitch line. I'm going to take our sky fabric and tape it to the top of the hoop and tack this in place. For our next step, I just changed the thread color to red for our airplane. I'm going to be coloring that in, and we will be doing an applique soon. So now that all of our fill stitches are done, we're going to add our only applique onto this panel. It's going to be using our white PU leather. I'm going to lay this in place over that placement stitch there, and we're going to tack this down. Our last step is just to move the zipper to the middle of the panel and then hit start. And that's it, our zipper panel's all done.